we're going to probably open up with these Israel-Gaza protests, particularly the college protests, because college protests is a subject near and dear to my heart. I grew up thinking college protesters were just punk kids, much like the baby boomer liberals and the baby boomer conservatives seem to think of current day protesters. So I'm interested to hear how you feel about, maybe you give our audience a little summary of, your thoughts on this, what seems to me a very tired cliche coming from mainstream media about these pampered, spoiled kids like we were talking about yesterday,
Yeah.
going out and Bill Maher's criticism. Honestly, like they're looking at the protesters as if they are just lost little kids looking for a purpose, and this is just something to do for that so that they feel less guilty about their privilege. I mean, that's basically what I've been hearing. What have you been hearing? Anything different?
I mean, yeah, that kind of sums it up. I mean, ultimately, like they they have nothing to lose. Honestly, like if they're being threatened by their tuition being taken away or being kicked off campus or whatever, like they understand that. Like clearly they feel like there's nowhere else to turn. Like the situation
Right.
is dire. They're just desperate for change. They don't like the fact that their tax money is going over to slaughter children in Gaza. They don't like the fact that nearly 200 journalists alone in Gaza have been killed. Like you can see like protesters at the White House Correspondents' Dinner, um, getting up in these journalists' faces, like, "Hey, why haven't you guys said anything? Like, why won't you uh, cover what's happening to us, like the way that we're being treated? Like, if you
Hmm.
believe in the free press, why haven't you said anything about the press that's been killed in Gaza, or the ones that were forced to flee because there was no food, it wasn't safe for them, the IDF clearly wasn't taking the proper precautions to protect them or avoid hitting them, given the fact that they dropped tens of thousands of bombs probably at this point, like on Gaza alone. It's it's disgusting. Like students feel like they have no other like form of you know uh, voicing
Expressing
that.
their displeasure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no other form of expression except getting you know the attention of the media by threatening their campuses, threatening these colleges, or at least like
Yeah.
urging them to divest from Israel and stop funding an apartheid state that is waging a genocide in Gaza, committing ethnic cleansing, displacing 2 million people, and forcing them to flee. Like, and they have nothing. There's nowhere to go. Like, it's what else is there to do other than stage a stay in? Like camp out on campus. Like like it brings eyes to the root issues.
It
That's
creates
what they
more
believe in.
division, I feel like, than anything else with this tone of resentment. I think it's all tone is what's going on. Is this just classic, like, what do you know? You're just a 20-something-year-old college kid. What do you know about
Twenty
the Middle
something.
East?
Yeah, like the
And
the,
it's
the
like,
the
or
age
even,
group that like
yeah, well,
I'm sorry
God.
it's the age group that almost exclusively founded this country. It's like well, are you saying that like 20-year-olds aren't incapable of thinking for themselves? Like that clearly they were enough to become independent from Great Britain, but
Yeah, they don't think like that. They just think from their own personal experience. They don't really respect their, I don't know, what's the opposite of elders? Your younglings? Your, I don't know, your
right,
youngers?
yeah,
I don't know we got to look up that.
whippersnappers.
The whippersnappers? Who have ruined everything since the good old days when we were running things? Yeah, okay. So,
Yeah,
yeah, no, there's nothing more than baby boomer condescension, I think, in a lot of this coverage. And it's to
exactly.
be expected now. And it's, since we've been talking, I came in, I've been working a lot on these scripted episodes, and I've been writing or working my way up to this thesis that it really all comes down to baby boomer conservatism being the problem.
Yeah.
But the second problem, I think we'll always say that baby boomer conservatism was the primary problem, but the
Of
secondary and
course.
supporting problem is baby boomer liberalism. The response to baby boomer conservatism
Right.
is completely inadequate. I mean, the fact that Israel still has so much power, that we are with a Democratic president in Biden supporting a ultra conservative, essentially foreign, like not necessarily dictator, but he's all kinds of corrupt. And people say that, oh, the Palestinians have representation in the courts and that's this and that. My understanding is it's all for show.
Yeah.
This is not real representation. I don't know if the two-state solution works. I don't know what the answer is. All I know is that Israel's gone way too far this time, and the videos that we see online of what's really going on there, you can't argue with.
Yeah.
So here we are with
You
modern day
can't.
media. Say what you will about social media, okay? It's done a lot of bad things for our society, for sure, without question. But it's here, and it's
Yeah.
here to stay. So let's acknowledge something good that comes from social media when it happens, because it's not often. But the transparency of this situation is only made possible, I think, through people on the ground with phone cameras,
Yeah.
and that the proliferation of all of this user-made content related to this war has just exposed Israel as tyrannical.
Yeah.
And I don't necessarily blame their citizens, although I don't know. I mean, it's tough not to. It's
Of
tough not
course.
to
Of
be like,
course.
you guys really like Netanyahu's your guy, and they haven't had an election in Israel since 2006. So
Right.
maybe your leadership is a problem here, guys.
Yeah.
But the thing that drives me nuts, I just can't get over this just fallback position of any criticism of Israel is somehow an expression of anti-Semitism.
Right. Yeah.
Like, that's the conflation, the strategic conflation. It's so shameless. It's kind of like what Trump does, but with more like cultural gravitas in
Right.
terms of the bully playing the victim. And so I don't know what to make of it. These college kids, though, they're in touch with it, man. They're like rising above. They don't get
Yeah.
their news from MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News. They're not
Exactly.
buying. They don't care. They don't care what Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski have to tell them, and
Yeah.
how to
Exactly.
condescend to them on at 7 o'clock East Coast every morning. Give
Yeah.
me a break. We don't need it. Why do we
Yeah.
need to listen to you? Why should we listen to you, boomers?
Hmm.
Why should we? There's this idea that we're supposed to respect our elders, right?
Right.
Well, I challenge that cultural assumption. Why?
Yeah.
Why should we respect our elders? Why? I
Yeah.
mean, if they had done something great, if they had left us this great world that is so fair and so uh,
Just.
functional,
Yeah.
or just functional,
Yeah.
even if it just like imagine if it like weren't the necessarily living up to our expectations, but we were still had a good healthcare system. That would be a way better world that we're living in.
No
Imagine
kidding.
if, there was some form of debt relief that got people out of this, handicapping debt that you see across the country, whether it be medical debt or credit card debt or student loan debt.
Yeah.
That's a huge reason for the wealth gap.
Big time.
That's a huge reason for the wealth gap is people carrying around debt. It's like obesity. No one talks about it.
Yeah.
Why aren't we talking about those are the problems that Americans are dealing with?
Yeah.
I mean, I can't stand watching this mainstream media coverage, and I do it because, like I've told you, I just want to know what the pulse of mainstream media is and what the kind of traditional baby boomer liberals are doing and thinking,
Yeah.
and I'm just blown away by the condescension and the overtly just scripted takes.
Yeah.
And just a lot of these commentators I know are not believing what they're saying.
No,
They're
of
just
course.
parroting. They're just being told what to say.
It's barking orders. It's marching orders, like from up top. Like literally, um, multiple outlets, uh, and like publishers, editors, authors of various articles and whatnot. Like they're even told, like journalists as well are told that you are to negate certain terms from being used when publishing a story. You are to leave out certain key details. Like,
Genocide.
yeah, that's definitely one of them. Um,
Can't use genocide. You
yeah,
can't compare. And in the most recent legislation, tell me if it passed or not, but they said that you can't draw
it,
comparisons
pa-
between current day Israel and Nazi Germany.
it passed in the House. It'll probably pass in the Senate,
Yeah.
and Biden will very likely sign it. Um, yeah, it's the stupidest fucking shit. Um,
See, it's
but
going to have the exact opposite effect.
yeah,
It's going to have the exact opposite effect. Now, in like urban and suburban areas, like the amount of Jew jokes that are going to be told because of this legislation, at least among my age group, is going to be prolific. I mean,
yeah,
it's just like, oh, yeah, we got, the resident victim.
yeah. Resident victims. No fucking kidding. It's yeah. Um, like I don't know how you can sit there like on your high horse and say like that you care about like the issue of Israel and Gaza, but like you're censoring your own publishings. Like you there are certain like uh tidbits and certain info that you don't allow being mentioned in various articles or stories or coverage of what's going on over there. It's so heavily watered down in these mainstream media outlets, and it's because they they're funded by Israel. They run cover for them, and they don't want the truth of what Israel has been doing in Gaza, like with these mass graves that have been found of Palestinians zip tied and summarily, ritually executed outside of hospitals in Gaza. Like you're not going to find anything about that in mainstream media, and that's like one of the most
Nope.
telltale signs of genocide. Like every genocidal campaign in history has had the discovery of mass graves. A couple years ago, Canada recently there was mass graves of I think it was thousands, if not hundreds, like maybe thousands, I believe, of native children, because these native schools that Canadian children were forced to go to adapt to Canadian society and leave behind their culture, basically like re-education. That was discovered a couple years ago. Like that, it's just indicative. It's evidence. It's indicative of a genocide. Like that's
Yeah.
it's part and parcel with it. You know.
Yeah,
It,
everyone's afraid to say it.
no, that's exactly
It shows
it.
you that it shows you just two things, and I don't know if it's scary to say it, but it's so true. And maybe it's not true. I'm open to counter arguments on this, but I mean, my father worked for a Jewish elite in Boston, like one of the biggest kind of strategic investors in the city at the time. And so I'm familiar with Jewish power in America. And I knew that they were influential. Only within the last 10 years have I become aware of how powerful they are
Hmm.
in terms of just, take your pick, man. They're per capita, Jewish Americans are the most powerful Americans per capita. They're 2% of the population, and they have, check out the last names on these board of directors at a lot of these companies. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Okay. So that is one thing, is that I knew that Jewish elites in America were powerful. I didn't know they were this powerful. And secondly, I knew their commitment to their homeland was strong, but again, I didn't know it was this strong.
Right. And
Like,
it's
when there's such an easy exit ramp, get rid of Netanyahu. Just put it all on him. We can start over, and we can come up with a real solution for Israel and Palestine, because whatever we've been trying for the last, at least since I've been alive, so the last 40 years, and according to my understanding of history in the 70s, it wasn't working very well then either. We have to figure this out.
Yeah.
Or we have to figure this out. This is a huge distraction.
Hmm.
There's a whole nother war going on in Ukraine that's
Yeah.
upsetting the supply chain. I mean,
Yeah.
like, peace is prosperity. Peace is
No kidding.
the name of the game. Peace is the purpose. Peace is the point,
Yeah.
right? What's the point of war? To create peace.
Yeah. So
The
when,
nature
yeah.
of war. The purpose of war is to serve a political peace, right?
It's the continuation of politics by other means. Yeah.
Right. Von Clausewitz.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.